about to get whacked in the head. In this week's Do Something With Your Marketing, here's what you need to do to get ready for what I'm going to call, I don't know, the cute name I guess could be apocalypse or something like that, but here's the bottom line. Privacy, data security, and retention of data are about to be the hottest issues that marketers are going to have to contend with from a regulatory perspective, much sooner and much more vigorously than we think. GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation of Europe, is slated to take effect at the end of May this year, and that imposes significant restrictions on what marketers and companies in general can and can't do with customer data. It requires protecting it, requires the right to be forgotten, and a whole bunch of other things. This is just the tip of the iceberg, folks, because after everything that's being unearthed with privacy policies of social networks and social media, another regulatory storm is on the way, and this one's going to be much, much bigger. It doesn't matter how many front page ads Facebook takes out, or how many videos, or how many people explain that handing over large quantities of data to technology companies blindly is not necessarily a bad thing. Combine that with politics, combine that with the political orientation of people in office, at least in the United States, versus the technology companies, which have very different political orientation. And it is very easy to see that a massive storm of regulation is coming for all forms of internet marketing. So, in this week's Do Something With Your Marketing, what should you be doing now to prepare for this? Number one, you need to own your database. And that means that you have control over the data. You know what's in it. You know what you're retaining, what you're asking for, and what you're not asking for. That means an email newsletter list, among other things. It means a customer database that you own, you control on your servers or in a cloud instance of a company that is responsible with the data you give it. Two, it also means minimum viable information. So we've had minimum viable product in the startup world forever. Minimum viable information is the amount of information you need to do your job as a marketer. What's the least amount of information you can use in order to still be able to market effectively? Don't collect more than this, because every bit and byte of data you collect above and beyond the minimum viable information is, frankly, it's a risk, especially if you don't use it. So for a very long time now, we have been collecting as much data as possible on the premise that someday we'll use it. This is the entire premise of my company's dark data idea, that we collected all this data and no one's ever used the stuff. It just lays in desk drawers. Well, now it is a regulatory risk, it is a compliance risk, it is a security risk. If we have a ton of data that we're not using, one data breach and we are in super hot water. So what is the minimum amount of information you can get away with and still be able to market effectively? The easiest way to do this is with analytics. Take a look at your data internally, like what things drive conversions on your website, if that's what you're responsible for, or what things drive sales, what things drive repeat purchases, whatever KPI you're responsible for, and then use analytics, use data science, use machine learning to figure out these are the variables, these are the other data points that go into those KPIs. They are, these are the things that are essential for determining what's successful. Everything that's not in that analysis, everything that you don't need to drive those conversions, consider putting it on ice. Stop collecting it, stop archiving it, put it away so that it is not a risk to you, because data sitting around is data that is at risk. That's the easiest way to think about any of this stuff. So, own your data and collect as little of it as possible while still being able to make good decisions. Here's a third thing from a perspective of doing something with your marketing. Behavioral data, in many cases, is going to be much more valuable than demographic and firmographic data. So what I mean by that is, just because somebody is the CIO of a major firm doesn't necessarily mean they're the buyer, doesn't necessarily mean they're qualified, doesn't necessarily mean that they are worth advertising to. Somebody who browses all of your products and services pages and goes to your About page and then your contact page, behaviorally, that person is more valuable to reach out to because they're on your website for a reason. Now, they might be the intern. They might be a middle manager. They might be the CIO. But we don't need to know that. We don't need to know necessarily who they are. We just need to know what they've done that matches other buying patterns. So if you're not using retargeting and remarketing and collecting the behavioral data of people on your websites and your digital properties that you own and control, that's a miss. So make sure that that is part of your marketing toolkit these days, is that you collect the behaviors and the actions people take as opposed to information about who they are. Nobody can breach an identity with a bunch of clickstream data about pages you visited. Nobody can violate confidentiality or privacy with, clicked from this page to this page to this page and spent, 50% of the time on this page. That information is not helpful for an identity thief. That information is not helpful for someone looking to sue you for compliance reasons. But that information is helpful for us as marketers to know this person, whoever they are, is interested. And then we get to the data collection page and we go for the minimum amount, like your name, your email, maybe your title, maybe a phone number. And that's probably good enough, and the company you work for. We don't need a whole lot beyond that. We certainly don't need, page after page after page of data. And honestly, given how sophisticated the technology is now, and given the fact that everybody and their cousin has a smartphone in their pocket, like 80% of the population, it's okay to just have a phone number saying, hey, if you like what you see, give us a call. If you have the ability to scale your call center or just scale the ability to talk to people, you might do better that way anyways, rather than pushing them through a marketing funnel that, frankly, nobody wants to go through and nobody wants to endure that process. So, own your database. Don't let the Facebooks of the world control it for you. Collect minimum viable information. Collect behavioral information instead. Those are the three things that you need to do to be ready in advance for the coming data protection regulatory storm. And it is coming. It is going to be fierce. It is going to eat up a lot of time and energy. It is going to cost a tremendous amount of money to be audited for this stuff. So the sooner you are ready, the sooner you are practicing these three things, the better off position you will be in. And I'm not a lawyer. I am not a regulator. I am not a government official. I don't have any firsthand experience with these things. But from a common sense perspective, these would seem to be the tactics that would make the most sense and that would give you the greatest chance to be able to survive and have your digital marketing survive. If the U.S. government says, Facebook, we're shutting you down, I don't think that's going to happen. But it could severely constrain our marketing. So do those three things. That's what I want you to do this week when I say do something with your marketing. Get ready for regulation. Thanks for watching. If you are not watching this from my newsletter, if you're just seeing it on LinkedIn or YouTube or whatever, please subscribe to the newsletter. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. No information needed to collect, just to hit the subscribe button on YouTube. So collecting the minimum viable information right there. But that's where you can stay tuned for future updates. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.